steps up. Ricketts is at the high point. Jones. Aromaterio has a lane. Nicholas Aromaterio, the shot. Scores! Holy jumping! The Italian stallion puts the puck in the back of the net. Mamma mia, Nicholas Aromaterio! So to keep it in and does. Callum Jones for Potts. At the blue line, kept in by the skate of Thomas Maya. Maya. Down low on the half course, he swings out in the slot for Potts. Kyle Potts has it, hangs on, now he shoots, scores! Holy jumping! How do you do? Kyle Potts puts the puck in the back of the net. Blades blocked that shot, and coming the other way is Alton McDermott. He's on the breakaway, scores! Holy jumping! His grandfather, Paul Henderson, must be ecstatic about that one because Alton McDermott just scored his first career Buckland Cup final playoff goal. Has been pulled. The Dukes are in the Oakville zone. Zone salvage. Swung that around. The Blades are trying to tie this puck up. It goes into the corner. The Blades have a chance to get this out. Lions will tie it up. 10 seconds. Gilmore has it at the point. It's in. Tips. Just wide. 7 seconds. It's back in the corner. Ewing's back in. 3, 2, 1. The Oakville Blades. Holy jumping. Blades win. Blades win. Blades win. The Oakville Blades are Buckland Cup champions.
You're watching Mamma Mia! This is Fire Talk with Nicholas Fiore. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 30 of Mamma Mia! This is Fire Talk. I'm Nicholas Fiore, the broadcast voice of the Oakville Blades, and joining me on this edition of the show is former hockey player, professional hockey player, mostly in Germany, Kerry Goulet. Kerry, thanks for joining. I appreciate it.
Hey, Nicholas, thank you for having me on. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Obviously, a former professional European hockey player in Germany. But I would say the main thing that you talk about and that you're with is StopConcussions.com.
Yes.
The director, Shoot for a Cure as well. Obviously, your own show, podcast show, however you want to describe it, live on YouTube and then live on Facebook Live as well, Gooch Live, which I had the pleasure of being on and hopefully to be on more and more, of course.
Absolutely.
But,
you're fantastic.
Thank you. But thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. And talk about Stop Concussions.
Well, yeah, thank you. I was blessed to play the game we love. Actually, we got to remember it's a game and I got to get paid to play a game. And so I was honored to be able to play and get to the highest level of my talents. I didn't make it to the National Hockey League. I came through the Winnipeg Jets organization and I just was just below that line. And then years later, I got an opportunity to go over to Europe and kind of hone my skills and allowed me to become more than just a hockey player. I had a lot of time on my hands. I had a charity called Kerry's Kids named after me. They help kids on the street, Ronald McDonald's house, kids with cancer. And so while I was over there, I got to understand that being a hockey player, there was more to it than just going out and playing on the ice. There was a lot of off ice, suffering a very serious concussion, coming home, meeting Barry Monroe, who ran the Canadian American Spinal Research Organization and dealt with neurotrauma. That's where concussions was a part of that. Obviously, anything to deal with the brain and the spine. Keith Primo was one of our spokesperson, as was Jerome McGinley. And it just became natural finding out that, listen, a buddy of mine broke his neck when I was 17. So I got involved with the spinal and then suffering my own concussion. And then later, Keith Primo suffering a career-ending concussion. It was only natural to get involved. So we started the organization back in 2010 called Stop Concussions. And here we are today, still pound on the pavement, making sure people understand the cause, effect, consequences, and now the management of it through shift concussion management.
Absolutely. And obviously, unfortunately, you had to go through an injury of having a concussion. And that came from all of your years playing in Germany. You played a lot in Germany, professional in Division 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in Germany with several teams. But why I guess, Germany and why, in a way, eventually, if I can say, almost fall in love with Germany in playing there and staying there your entire professional career?
Well, you know what? Thank you for that question. You know, I was a good hockey player. I wouldn't say I was the best, of course, because if I been, I would have been in the National Hockey League. But in those days, I was really quick, and so I came through junior, and it was always kind of more of an undisciplined type player. They called me, because if you recall, you would not, because you probably weren't born then. But in 1977, the Winnipeg Jets were going from the World Hockey Association into the National Hockey League again. And the famous line was Hull, Nielsen, and Hedberg, Ulf Nielsen, Anders Hedberg, and they were the European, and they played a very rover type hockey. If you were a left winger, you were on the right wing was on the left, and it was just all around chaotic. And I loved that part of the game because I could skate. I kind of emulated them. But unfortunately, back in those days, if you want to make a National Hockey League, if you weren't Gretzky, which I wasn't, you had to be that up and down the wing type of player. So long and short, I was classified as an undisciplined player because I was all over the map, and I loved that type of hockey. When my draft year came, I was invited out. If I wasn't going to get drafted, John Ferguson Sr. invited me out to what's called a pre-rookie camp to see if I was kind of, I guess it would be like a walk-on today, diamond in the rough. And I went to the walk-on at that time, and just, it was a blood fest. It was actually, everybody was fighting, and they were looking for whoever was the toughest to come out of that. They weren't worried about skill level. Had I been Gretzky, maybe I would have got through it, but I never had a chance to show my skill. I was getting beaten up too much. And so I went into a meeting with John Ferguson Sr. and with a guy named Fran Huck, who was an agent, and basically heard from one of the toughest men of all time in the National Hockey League, John Ferguson Sr., saying, "Kerry, you're a good player. We just don't feel you're tough enough. We'd like to send you down." And I was devastated. My career was over. I would never make it, I felt. So I kept playing and bouncing around, playing in what's called the Senior League. It was called the Allen Cup. You challenged for the Allen Cup. And I got lucky in 1988. I owned a nightclub with a buddy of mine named Dick Davidson. He was a primary club owner, and it was in Thunder Bay, and we won an Allen Cup. And a young boy named Luke Nielsen was on a tour to find the diamond in the rough for Europe. And he saw me play, and he said, "Hey, you would do really well in Europe. You skate, you got a big mouth, you're entertaining." And I got over there, and lo and behold, thinking I was only going there for a couple of years. I went at 27. I ended up, retiring at 41. Could have still played a few more years because I ended up being a non-import player, and just had a tremendous career. Played with some incredible players like Mark McKay, who was arguably one of the best players I ever played with. Marvin Glazer. We played on a line that we ended up 1, 2, 3 in the scoring for a few years. And what was the honor is the three of us got our jerseys retired on the same night in the same building in Timmendorfer Strand. And I fell in love with it. As you said, people actually paid to watch me play. People actually wanted my autograph, and it wasn't the bank wanted me to pay a mortgage payment. So that in itself, I would have played for free, but unfortunately it's part of the business. I had to collect a paycheck, put food on the table. And that's how I got to be involved with Germany for so long. And I still am very heavily involved.
I was gonna touch upon the retired jersey number 29 can no longer be worn in EHC Timmendorfer. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Strand, Timmendorfer Strand. Those 6 in Germany. You said it was an honor, but how much of an honor is it? I mean, because we as the Oakville Blades retired number 16 John Duff last season, and that's junior hockey in Ontario. But for you, I mean, at the end of the day, it's professional hockey, and it's in Germany, across, overseas in Europe. How honored were you to have a professional German ice hockey team retire the number that you wore, number 29?
Well, it was when I got the call from Michel Bertz. He runs the organization called FEETS, which is the fan initiative project there, very similar to a fan club here. They had never done it before. And this is in a small rink. It holds about 1,800 fans, but every game we were playing, there were 3,000 people hung from the rafters. So think about, and you got to remember, they're converted soccer fans. 3,000 people are 40,000 people in a stadium here, drums and dancing and singing. They'd come 2 hours before a game and leave 2 hours after a game.
Wow.
If you won, you walked on water. You never paid for a drink, never paid for dinner that week. If you lost, you didn't go out of your house. You know that from the Italian mentality with soccer. And then I was also a player coach, which made it even more difficult because I was not only responsible for playing and being at the top of my game, I was also responsible of taking these players and molding them into a winning team. I got lucky. I did that 4 times, obviously in the different divisions, 2nd division, 3rd division, and 4th division. I joke around about playing in the 5th and 6th. I actually only played once in the 5th division. It was when I went back and played just recently at 59. It was kind of a crazy story. I'll save that for maybe another call, or maybe we have time at the end. But it gave me an opportunity to develop again as a player. I was not fortunate enough to go to school and get an education. So I left at 27. I owned a nightclub, as I was mentioning, and I didn't really formally educate myself. I always use the adage, I got to grade 12 by passing grade 6 twice. And it was true. I was not that overly educated, but when I got over to Germany, I was there the night the Berlin Wall fell, which is a historic event.
Wow.
I was there for the opening of the German East and West. So I was there educating myself, traveling through Europe, Holland, Belgium, all the Scandinavian countries, Italy, Portugal, all the way down to Tunisia, Africa. I got to travel and learn. So my hockey career was more than a career. It was a learning experience, an educational experience, and then gaining so much knowledge, but also so tremendous players. So when my jersey was actually announced that it would be retired, it brought back all of those great memories that I had through my playing career. And I literally bawled for hours. Like it was, and I'm a pretty open guy. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I couldn't stop crying because it was all the years of my mom waking up early in the morning and driving me to practice in Winnipeg, doing it in outdoor rinks at the Wenatchee Community Club, and not giving my parents the opportunity to watch me play in the National Hockey League hurt me. But now to have, my father had passed before the jersey was retired, having my mother in the crowd watching this thing happen, I'll tell you what, I couldn't have been a prouder person at that moment. And I'm blessed. I didn't get there without people along the way. Michelle Bertz, being a part of that organization. Herr Adler, who's no longer with us, Mr. Adler, who was the first person that believed in me, allowing me to be the player coach. Marvin and Mark were tremendous athletes that made me a better player and allowed me to do the things. Jörg Dietrich, who fell sick with a stroke and is only getting back to normal. I send my love and wishes to him. And then having the craziness of being able to go back and play in a 6th division pro game at 59, and ended up with that team, these young kids that had watched me play. I got to play with them, and they treated me like as I was just one of their teammates. It was only one game, and we played against the team.
We're definitely gonna touch upon that later, because I want to know how that went down.
Okay, good.
But you also touched upon being a player coach, and you were a player coach in 1990 to 1992 with ETC Timmendorfer Strand. But you don't see that, and you rarely see that. Maybe more back then, but now that basically is never going to happen. How was that like for you? Because it's like, how much do you play? How much do you play others? Do you coach more than play? How did that all work?
Yeah, very good question. And there have been, it doesn't happen in the United States, Canada, United States as much. There still are the odd. I remember Rick Aduno was a player coach in the AHL, maybe more of assistant coach. I think it's a very difficult task, no question. But again, I was playing, in the 3rd division, which would be kind of East Coast League level, maybe even a little bit under that. You were only allowed 2 imports, so a Canadian American, a Russian, a Czech. And because I had some entrepreneurial skills in the back, I had some marketing stuff. I wasn't afraid of getting in front of the mic. My German wasn't that great, but I wasn't afraid to be a leader. It became natural. It was a natural progression for me because I again, not being arrogant, I love the game. I like yourself, very passionate about the game. So I learned how to analyze the game and pick players that were very good, that could help me be better. Mark McKay is a classic example. Marvin Glazer, a natural goal scorer. Andy Pritchard, who came along later in life in when I played in Greyfrath. Elmer Schmitz, the captain of Greyfrath. I was able to be able to find these type of players that would understand that I knew what I was doing. They bought in to my plan. I sat down with them all and said, listen, I'm going to be the coach, but I'm also going to play. So what I teach, I'm going to perform. And so I was confident in my skill level at that time to be able to do that. Hard, no question, dealing with the agents, dealing with the management, having those decisions to make on who's going to play and who's not going to play, where a sponsor's son maybe was on the team, or the management didn't like one of the players I brought in, so they wanted me to play more youth. I battled a lot. There was a lot of disagreements throughout the way. In Timmendorf, I was blessed to have this Jörg Dietrich, who was a good player in his day, retire when I became the coach of Timmendorf, and he was my co-coach. So Nicholas, to understand it, I would be on the bench, and when I was talking with Jörg, I'd say, Jörg, what do you think? This is what we should be doing. Here's who has to go out. As soon as I got on the playing field, I turned off the coach switch because I knew I had Jörg on the bench, and I would just go out and perform. It also made me better because at practice I'd be saying, don't do this, this, and this. So I couldn't go out and do that. I couldn't give the puck up at the blue line, or I couldn't make that long stretch pass and get it intercepted for a goal. So there was a lot more pressure put on me, and I was able to rise to the occasion, and only because I got great players like Mike Verriman, again, players, names that wouldn't mean much to you or to the Canadian populace. Henry Tom, these guys were just phenomenal guys that ended up helping me along the way to attain success. And I wasn't dumb. I knew that being an import, your lifespan was really quick. Nicholas, if you didn't score and you weren't at the top of the game, you were gone really quickly. So I realized in a very short period of time, you know what, if I became a coach and a player, and I performed as a player moderately, but was good at a coaching, I would expand my opportunity to stay longer. And it was pretty tough firing both of them. So it was a trick, and thank God it paid off. And, you know, I had a 16-year career.
And it did pay off, obviously, with the 16-year career. Obviously, it started back in 1975 to 79, playing junior with a few teams: Winnipeg Monarchs, Calgary Wranglers, St. Bonifire, if I'm saying it correctly, Assiniboine Park.
Assiniboine Park, yeah.
Back then, and then major junior, obviously the MJHL, WHL, 129 games, 111 points within that. And then obviously it springboarded you to pro hockey. You had 4 stints, 1988 to 2001, 05, 06, 11, 12, and then we're going to touch upon the 18, 19, and 11, 12, one game apiece there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, in Germany Division II, it was 19 games 1 year with Deggendorfer, EC.
Deggendorf, yeah.
Deggendorfer, DEC. And then 5 teams in Germany Division III, where you got 1,067 points in 352 games, 27 points, by the way, in Germany 2, Division 2. And then Germany 4, another 5 teams as well, 484 points in 137 games played. So you were lighting the lamp there. And then the wild one in back in 2018, 2019, 1 game played, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points for CE Timmendorfer Strand. Let's touch upon that right now, and then I'm going to get to a following question. What was that about? 1 game in 2011, 2012, and then 1 game in, I guess you could talk about both, or the latest one in 2018, 19. 1 game, let's go back, play professional hockey with the youngsters. Let's record 8 points and head back home. What was that about?
All right. Well, yeah, it's a little more.
It's fantastic, though, in my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I was trying to do the Gordie Howe. Actually, what happened is that, again, I was given the gift of the gab. I was a marketer. I would go to all the hospitals while I was a player coach. And I became, and again, I'm not being arrogant. I'm just telling the facts. A guy like Mark McKay, myself, and Marvin Glazer in that little town. It was especially in Timmendorfer-Strand, it was, a town of 7,500 in the winter and 125,000 in the summer. It was a beach resort. And so I got lucky. At the end of it all, I ended up with 2,009 points. You don't see it all in the numbers there. They kind of missed a bunch of games, but that's for another story. How it all happened was when I was playing for Timmendorfer-Strand as a player coach at the beginning, we won a German championship. It was for the 3rd division. It was called the Oberliga. So again, that's in the East Coast League level. Pretty big achievement in a little town of 7,500 when we're playing teams from Berlin, from Frankfurt, from Munich, all those cities that are 1.5 million, and here we are winning in a little beach resort. We were called the Beach Boys because we're literally living on a beach.
Wow.
And so it was a life of being in Hollywood. It'd be like playing in Los Angeles. It was like Toronto to Barrie, kind of that same distance. Even though on the Autobahn you could go 200 kilometers an hour, so it wouldn't take you quite as long to get there on the 400. It gave me an opportunity to really understand the German market, understand that I was more than just a hockey player. I was idolized by so many people, put on a pedestal, as all the players were. But we had to give back, and give back was obviously being there for the team. Again, it wasn't Goulet on the back, it was the name of the jersey on the front. And I learned that very young. I also learned to take time to be with the fans. This day and age, players are, with cell phones and all these apparatuses and all these different social medias. Some guys are very scared about being as open and honest because, everybody's videotaping it or it's getting your signature, putting it on eBay. Back then, they didn't do that. So we could be a lot more open and free. And so how it all ended up throughout all those years, going from Timmendorf to Greyfrath, another phenomenal story, starting out in Eschweiler in the 4th division, scoring all these points. I was blessed to have the opportunity to have my jersey retired, be recognized in a bunch of these other cities as my career had wound down, coming home, and then being asked to come back several times for these Remember Games, which would be bring back all the old legends, and we'll perform games and get the fans back in the rink. And, it's always kind of what's old is new. So to come to those 2 games, the first one in 11-12, I was had a young boy. His name was Andy Marley. He was our stick boy in my heydays. He was playing for the 2nd team of Timmendorf at that time called the Storm. And they were playing in a league that was in basically the 4th division, lower end, and still a pro league. He had realized that I had had 1,997 points in my overall career in Germany. And he said, Gooch, we got to get you 2,000. And this was at 52. So I said, you're crazy. He says, Gooch, you can do it. I know you can. So I trained and got in shape and flew over there for one game. I hadn't worn shoulder pads in so many years. And I got into the game. Place was full. Everybody was looking at this fossil thinking I was going to fail. And I knew I couldn't fail. I had to not let my buddy down. And it was a dream for him to play with me on the same line. He was actually the guy that was taping my stick and sharpening my skates.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's playing with me. Off the game started, we were playing a team, a very close game. My wife had the opportunity to come and see me play for the first time professionally, if you wanted to call that. I had to sign a card, an IIHF card. They had to take my jersey down from the roof, and I got to play. And what was amazing about it is that my second shift, I played right wing. I was a left-handed shot. Andy was in the middle. So he was coming around the net in our zone, and you could hang out by the red line. And I never believed in back checking. So there was no red line. So he passed the puck, and I was collecting, getting ready to get it. And as I was turning, I just got hit from a young defenseman. Like most of these players were 18 to 25. It could have been their father. Some of them, it could be the grandfather. I got whacked and down I went. I laid on the ground and realized, what the heck am I doing here? And he skated over, he said, Gucci, you okay? I said, yeah. He says, don't worry, I got his number. So I got up, realized I'm in a real game, kind of got myself back together. We're down 3. I can't remember all the facts, but I know we were down 3-1. Can't remember exact timing. I hadn't got a point. I needed 3. And Andy's dream was always to play with me. We had a face-off in their zone. It came back to me. Saw him breaking to the net, laid a pass in. He scored. There's my first point. Similar kind of situation. We're in their zone. We were pressuring them. The defenseman saw Andy, the defenseman that had hit me. Andy was beelining to ram him, and he panicked and he tried to flip the puck over top, to get it out of the zone.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it lands on my stick. Deke, the goalie, put the puck in on a backhand for my second point.
Amazing.
And in the late stages of the game, we were tied, and I got a lucky chance to make a pass over to Andy, and he scores to win the game. And that was my third point. There was 2,000 points. An honor, hoopla, fantastic. There are days I don't need to ever play another game. I'm done. I could have been mayor of the city. It was just surreal to be a part of that. Again, I would have never been there without all the great people, from my mom, my dad, and all the way through all the coaches and players, and playing for the St. Boniface Riels actually in the MMJHL instead of going and playing in the MJHL was probably the smartest move I did, because it really got me to understand how to play the game in all the size rinks. And that part, I'm retired again. I played one game. And then a few years later comes 1819. Jörg Dietrich, who had suffered a stroke, he was my co-coach at the time. He said to me on a further trip, it was Christmas time in 2018, and he said, Gooch, we're losing the rink. The city's having a vote. You got to remember, this rink's right in the middle of a beach resort on tremendous land in a big park, and developers wanted that piece of land. So obviously they were having a battle on whether to sell it or continue on hockey. Hockey had declined a little bit. And so he thought if they brought back some of the former players to give an endorsement to keep hockey in their town, it would work. So he called me first and said, Gooch, I need you to come back and play. I know it's going to put people in the rink. They were averaging 500 fans a game, where we were doing 3,000 a game. He just knew that something like that would inspire people. Being 59, being fat and out of shape, and showing people that if you put your mind to it, nothing's impossible. And I said, sure, why not? And so long story short, the game was in late February. I had worked out as much as I could. I had skated on a 3-on-3 rink with no equipment, training and, doing the dangles and no goalie, all that stuff. And never put equipment on. I had a meeting in Sheffield, England on the Tuesday, flew out of England and arrived Thursday in Timmendorfer Strand. My sticks didn't show up. They got lost by Lufthansa. Did the press conference, had lunch with everybody. Unbelievable. It just brought back so many memories. The honor of having film cameras. They followed me throughout the city, the town.
Wow.
Amazing. That a guy that never made it to the National Hockey League, I'm being put on a pedestal, national television in Germany, or one of the top RTL, one of the big stations, Northern Germany for sure. And after our press conference, I said to the boys, hey, see you tomorrow, guys. I'll be there for game skate in the morning. And your teacher turns to me and said, no, Coach, we practice tonight. So what? We practice tonight. Jörg, nowhere did it say there I had practice. Practice? Talk about practice.
Talk about
I
practice.
said, no, you got to come to practice. So I agreed, painfully, putting on my gear for the first time. I'm walking to the rink. Thank God they had already taken my bag over. My sticks had showed up from Lufthansa. They found them. I'm walking to the rink, and there's a lineup out the door.
Oh.
And I'm looking. Is the game tonight? So I walked through, and hey, Goulet, 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 all the singing and dancing and signing autographs. And,
Wow.
I felt like a rock star. I get into the rink. It's full. There's like 500 people in for a practice.
Oh my God.
So I get into the dressing room. I was nervous. It was probably the first time I had been nervous, because when I sat down in the dressing room with all these young kids, they treated me as if I was one of them. Nobody treated me like I was anything bigger or under. And I just sat there thinking, God, Gooch, I'm going to embarrass my mom, my dad. I'm going to embarrass Yerke for coming up with this silly idea. I'm going to let my name down, my wife down, stop concussions down. And I just sat there in kind of panic, a little bit of sweat coming from me. Andy Marley, who was not playing for the team, popped into the rink and said, if there's anybody that can do it, Gooch, it's you. Just put on a show. It's your canvas. Go out there and be you. So I took those words to heart. I went out into practice, and as I got to practice, I hope we have enough time. I'm not going too far.
We're good.
I get into practice, and thank God, you got to remember I was on a 3-on-3 rink with no equipment. And now we're on Olympic-sized rink.
Oh.
Thank God we had 4 lines. And Yerk was smart. He didn't put me on the first line. He put me on the second line and gave me a really young, dynamic, quick defenseman center, and put me with one of the old veterans, a guy named Michel Mai. And he put me on that line, which was smart. By putting me on like Joe Thornton with Marley, Marner, and Matthews, not that I'm comparing myself to them.
No,
But it would have been me to try and keep up to those guys. Joe's doing a great job. I would have never been able to keep up to them. And it took the pressure off me because I didn't have to be the star, even though the night was going to be about me. We're playing a team from Hamburg. They were all young kids with 6th division. They were all Russians that lived in a certain area that all played. So, Russians, you thought, okay, they're going to be great hockey players. It's all about me. Every place is jammed. Goulet jerseys, signs, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, wow.
Film crews followed me all around. There's a video, so if people think that I'm adding a little Technicolor, I'm not, because it's today. In the old days, I could be getting the shovel out.
Oh, yeah.
Today with Google, you can't. So in European hockey, it's very like soccer. They turn the lights out and they call out each name, each player of the home team. They're calling names out. That night in practice, I tried as hard as I can because all those people were watching me. I got home to the hotel that night, and Nicholas, my body seized.
Oh,
I couldn't walk.
my
I was
goodness.
laying in bed, dying. I phoned my wife and said, I don't know what I can't do this. And she, of course, Gooch, you got to. You're there now. You can't let everybody down.
Yeah.
But she says, especially me. Okay. She said, take a shower. I took a 2.5-hour shower at 12 midnight with the nozzle turned, just hot water. The next morning I woke up really stiff, and I used to have a personal doctor there that took care of all of our teammates. His name was Willie Rooker. We just lost him recently. He was a magician. And I showed up early in the morning, said, Willie, you got to help me, kid. And he said, look, here's what we got to do. I'm not going to give you a massage, because if I do, all the lactic acid's going to kill you. I'm going to give you this special ointment. It's Chinese such and such from a plant root. I'm going to give you these pills that you take. I want you to take a pill right when you leave here with some food, after lunch, just before the game, after your game day meal. Rub this oil, take a shower every time you did it. And I got to remember that I had signed an IHF card, which meant I had to take doping. I could take doping. So I'm just thinking, oh my God, what is he giving me?
Oh, no.
I get to the rink, as I said, the place is sold out. They're hanging from the rafters. The lights are out, press everywhere. They call the players out, and I'm the last one to come. And I'm so excited. As I step out, I trip and I slide out onto the ice, looking like I was Superman. The most embarrassing thing. I get myself up, I get in line, and everybody's laughing on the team, thinking, "Oh my God." Long story short, we were playing a team that we shouldn't have been playing. It was not fair to them. They were far below the talent level that the kids without me were, and it was just an amazing, surreal moment. My name being chanted. The young players from the Russian team, team was called Malat. They could have ran the crap out of me. I'm 59. They're 20ish. They could have disrespected me, and they could have felt disrespected because here this old guy's coming on their turf to play. But in the end of the game, it actually ended up, as it usually does in Germany, all the stats weren't right. I had scored 2 goals and had 6 assists. And going into the last 2 minutes of the game, your teacher turned to me and said, "Gooch, you need to score your hat trick." And I said to him, "No, come on, no, Gooch, it's 24-0. I need you to go and score your hat trick." So he put me out with the big boys, the 2 young studs. It was a face-off in their zone. The poor goalie had looked like Denis Lemieux from the movie Slapshot. He'd taken probably 100 shots. And yet to this moment, nobody had ran me. They had thrown the body a little bit, but nobody had taken advantage of me being this old. You could see that my legs just couldn't do what these young kids could do, but the smarts were still there, a little bit of the hands. So at 24-0, you got to make it fun. I skated over to the goalie, who was Russian, little short guy, couldn't speak any English, very barely some German. And I said to him, "I'm sorry, we're going to have some fun. I'm going to try and score, and please don't take it wrong." And he laughed and joked, and we set up for a face-off, and lo and behold, I'm in front. I score. And the first person to congratulate me was the goalie jumping off the ice like he was springboarding, high-fiving me. And as I'm skating back, all the boys, there are great pictures of it. All the boys are there hugging me and all that sort of crap. This was before COVID time. And as I was skating to our bench to do that usual hand pump, their bench is up. And I do the hand slap to them, get to ours, do it to us. And then the rest was history. It was a party like no tomorrow. So it was a hat trick, 3 goals, 9 assists, 6 assists for 9 points. But it was a 25-0 game. And I stood at the warm-up with my stick like Kenny Dryden, not because I was doing anything other than trying to catch my breath. I watched the young goalie, and I knew that he had no chance on this team. We were just too powerful. And the problem is when you play in those type of games, you feel bad, but it would have been worse if we didn't try, right? Dump the puck in the corner, go on a breakaway and trip. I don't think it would have been the same. So nobody felt bad. Party went on till wee hours in the morning. I couldn't hardly walk for 2 days, but it was the best moment, one of my best moments of my life, knowing that I showed a lot of people you're never too old and nothing's impossible. And would I do it again? I had plans of maybe going back at 60 and playing in a game. But unfortunately, COVID stolen that from me because I would have liked to have played in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. But I don't think that'll ever become possible. But the rest is history. It's truly a blessing and honor, and I'm so fortunate.
Truly unbelievable. An unbelievable story. 59 years old, go back, you get 9 points, 2009 points overall in your professional career, 16 years, 13 consecutive years in Germany, and 16, I guess, overall, 05, 06 with 22 games, and obviously the one game in 11 and 12 and 18, 19. So it's an easy question. You have to know how to speak German.
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Ich bin a Berliner. Yeah. You know what? I picked it up. I was married to a German. She worked for Lufthansa. We got married. We're no longer married. Tony Meal is just an amazing woman in my life that allows me to be me. A lot of people, I am a little crazy. I take up challenges really well. This day and age, the body parts are all falling apart. I have asthma, which takes away from it a little bit, but I just look back and with all the great people, as I mentioned, Elmer Schmitz and Mark McKay and Marvin Glazers of the world. There are so many more people I can acknowledge. But Willie Rocker, who we've lost, Olaf Clausen, one of the other doctors, without them, I would not have been able to keep my, they used gaffer tape and nails and crazy glue to keep the body together. I would never been able to do what I did. And I think my story is more than just hockey. My passports were my skates, my passport to the world. I stole that line from Paul Stewart. It has allowed me to travel the world and become more than a hockey player. It's allowed me to do my concussion work, mental health with our Connected Mental Health Initiative. It allows me to teach the game, allow people to understand the injuries, the cause and effect and consequences of these injuries, and dealing with mental health. I lost my sister to mental health issues, so it's very dear to my heart. I almost lost my life to concussions, and I will not stop pounding the drum until we prevent as many concussions as we can. We stop the silliness of suicide, and that we allow ourselves to be compassionate and empathetic to people that suffer from mental illness.
You went, and I couldn't agree with you more. We're going to touch upon stop concussions after the next question. You went from difference of going, from junior or major junior to professional back in '79, then obviously going to professional right after that in Germany. What was that like? Because you don't see that now, and you probably won't because there's so many more levels. But going from junior hockey, major junior hockey, to professional in Germany, what was that like?
Well, really quickly, you saw that I only played 3 games in the Western Hockey League.
Yeah.
It was a choice. I had an opportunity. I was trying to get traded. I won't go through all the politics, of course, in hockey. Yeah. I was a really good player, fast, and again, they classified me as this undisciplined player in the Western Hockey League. Broad Street bullies, up and down. If you don't touch the puck, you get the puck. If you're not Gretzky, dump it in, bash and crash, and that wasn't my game. So I learned that I couldn't play on the particular style of team that the Calgary Wranglers wanted. So I asked for a trade, and unfortunately, the general manager / coach at that time didn't trade any of us. And so I came home and played for MGHL, and that allowed me to really become a better hockey player, believe it or not. And I saw myself, I didn't want to travel as much, all around in a bus. So in the MGHL, you stayed in that particular city. Not getting drafted, not going to the professional route. At that time, I bounced around, played in what's called the Cash League, which played for the Allen Cup. It was a senior league. And so it actually was not professional. You got a couple $100 a week to, for a stipend. But it taught me how to play with the big boys. And that's what really got me prepared to go over to Europe. And so when I got to Europe, it was kind of a crazy time. It was in 1988. The Berlin Wall was up. There wasn't much TV. There was only MTV. There was no CNN or English television whatsoever. I was living on the border of Belgium, Holland, and Germany in a little town called Eschweiler. It allowed me to go over the border, which was 5 minutes away. It was in the EU, so I got across the border with my passport. Had Dutch Gilda, which is a form of money. Everything was in English subtitles, the movies, TV. So I didn't really leave home. I could get some English television there. It really prepared me for being there for a long time because it allowed me to understand that the people idolized you more than Gretzky. When you lived in their city, you were their moment of distraction of their hard work. So when you played, they worked hard all week to put some money out to come and see me and our players play. So we had to play at our best. So it gave me that understanding that every game I needed to play at the top of my game. And I really think playing in Eschweiler in the 4th Division in a town that wasn't really an ice hockey town gave me the opportunity to understand if I'm going to stay here, it's the fans that are going to keep me here. Yes, I'm going to have to score goals, win games, but if the fans didn't like me, I could be going home quickly. And I learned that very young. And I would take hours after every game, sign autographs. Some people thought it was arrogant, egotistical, wanted to be in front of the camera, sign those autographs. No, it was about understanding that those people invested in me. I could invest my time and energy in them. And that's how I got blessed to stay 16 years and have a pretty cool experience.
And within those 16 years and currently working with StopConcussions.com, the director for 10 years now. If people don't know, what do you do and what is it about?
Well, yeah, thank you. I learned at a young age. My buddy had broken his neck I was 17. He was my line mate. He was 19. His name's Robert Velford out of Winnipeg. And he broke his neck in a diving accident in the summer. And a bunch of guys went down across the border, Winnipeg to Grand Forks. I couldn't go that weekend. And the boys just had some fun, drank a couple of too many beers. I wasn't old enough to do it anyways. University town. And he made a bad choice and dove in the wrong end of a swimming pool. And it changed all of our lives very quickly, understanding that we were not these gladiators dressed up in hockey gear. Our life could change in an instant, and his did. So it really, at that time, allowed me to understand compassion and empathy. The fact of don't take it for granted, could change at any moment. And that was really a turning point in my life to understand that give back to those that cannot give back to themselves. Give back to those that can't help themselves because of the fact of either an injury or an illness. My parents instilled that in me anyway. So it was just that moment, that breakaway moment. And I would go to the hospital every day up through the quad floor, seeing people that could not get out of bed, who were lost limbs or broken backs and couldn't move from the neck down, which that was Robert. Never complained. Went there, met him all the time, and he was a happy-go-lucky guy. Never once regretted the fact of what had happened to him or put it down that, look at the cards I was dealt. He made me feel good, and he made me feel comfortable, and that was a lesson. So as I went through life, I then became a philanthropist with no money, but a philanthropist through and through. And it was when I was at his funeral that I really learned the lesson. I had flown back from Toronto because I was living here and he was living in Winnipeg. I would go and see him 3 times a year. Even playing, I would always go back to Toronto or Winnipeg. And I was asked to do the eulogy for Bobby. And I was going back to see some colleagues I hadn't seen probably in 25, 30 years. I'd be standing in front of, there was 200 people at the funeral. And it was beautiful that his mother and his brothers and sisters had asked me to do the eulogy. And I got up there and I had this big long-winded speech that I'd written on the plane and got to the pulpit, looked around and saw all these people. And I'd say I was a little bit nervous. And I took the speech and said to myself at that time, Bob's not worth me. It's not right. It shouldn't be reading. It should come from the heart. I don't need to mention all these silly things that I wrote on paper. And I just said to myself and then subsequently to everybody else, I said, why are we here? Why did Bobby bring us to this room? And I said, he was teaching us throughout our life. It wasn't what we collected along our journey, the trophies, the cars, the money, the houses, the women, the men, the trophies, the accolades. What he taught you is what we gave back would be our true legacy. That was what it was, and it still is today, the words that I live by. And it was because of his ability to teach, even though he wasn't anywhere with us. He taught, even just laying in a bed, not moving. He taught people to understand compassion and empathy. Those are words that are easy to say, they're tough to live by. And I promised myself when I lost Bobby, my mother, my father, my sister, that I would live up to those words. And I think through Stop Concussions, it's given me the opportunity to do that. Through Connected Mental Health, it's allowed me to do that. I don't just talk the talk, I walk the talk. And I don't do it for anything other than the fact that we can make a difference and we can stand up. We've all gone through trials and tribulations. Don't judge the book by the cover. Read the book, read the story first, and then judge the book. And I think that's what I've learned. And I think it's important that we all take those words to heart. At the end of the day, when it is no longer your time to be on the planet, you will have an epitaph. And what does it read? That you were a millionaire? Man, not going to make a difference. That you changed and helped millions of people along your way? Man, no better words than having that written. And I hope that's what's written on mine.
Absolutely. Great story once again. And you use your platform to not just talk about the NHL and have myself on and have Stephen Ellis of the Hockey News on and all these other guys and just talk to former NHLers. Use the platform of your show, right? The Gooch Live show, to talk about Stop Concussions, to talk about mental health, and not just focus about the game. I see that you have people on that I don't even know, but it's nothing to do with hockey. It's about sometimes mental health and all that, which is absolutely brilliant and fantastic.
Yep.
Talk about the show, what the main basis of it is. It's on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, as well, which I had the pleasure of being on, as mentioned,
You were
on
great.
the top, hopefully to be on more. But talk about the Gooch Live show and how'd you get into it?
Well, yeah, Gooch Live is featuring Paul Rosen. Of course, Paul Rosen won a Olympic gold medal with us
Yes.
with para hockey back in 2006 Torino. I never really thought about doing this type of stuff, though. You know, it comes natural. I can stand in front of a mic, as yourself, I can stand in front of one person or 3,000 people and express myself. And self-taught, didn't go to school. And so it was back when Graham Roustan bought the Hockey News. He was looking for a new digital platform. And he had asked me, Kerry, would you be interested in doing a show for me? And I don't need you to come on and analytics, because I'm not great with analytics when it comes to the game. I know how to analyze the game, but I don't understand all the, especially today's lingo. And he wanted me to present the other side of the game, the background parts, the lifestyle, the training, the parts of the travel, going from the rink to the hotel, to the bus, to the plane, traveling to these exotic places around the world that I was blessed to travel for Stop Concussions. Germany, China, on the Great Wall of China, Berlin by the Brandenburg Gate, Singapore, all these great locations. And he said, could you do that? I said, man, I'd love to. He said, listen, we've started it. We've got this great platform. Stephen Ellis is running the show along with Ken Campbell and Jay and all these great guys over the Hockey News. It's your show. Come and do something. And they had Mike Keenan and they had great reporters. They have them now. I think Matt Larkin and Stephen Ellis is on there that can really talk about the NHL. And I said, mine's not just going to be about that. I'll talk with the old dudes. I'll try and get someone like Brent Burns and Ian Coles of the world on, but I want to get Nicholas, yourself on, Stephen Ellis on, all these young guys that are coming up, and talk to Ronnie Ellis's and Daryl Sittner's about stories that we may have not heard. And that's where the Gooch Live kind of came. And Paul came on as a co-host. And what we've done is basically taken a show that was a weekly show before the pandemic, going down to Adelaide Street, where their studio was, sitting in front of cameras, professional gear, and putting on a show. And I would travel to Auckland, Australia, as I mentioned, on the China Wall, the Great Wall of China, traveling all over the place. Paul would stay in the studio. That was kind of what the story was going to be. Well, COVID hit us. And Paul and I just sat there and said, oh, what luck. We just started a video podcast and we're already shut down because they had closed down the studio. And I said, hey, listen, everybody's doing these things called podcasts. Why don't we try that? So we started up Facebook Live on my personal account, Gooch Live or Kerry Goulet. And it just, one day to the next, we were no good at it. We were just talking and throwing stuff out there and gained a little bit of a populace with people coming on and listening to us. It went from 10 people to 40 people to 100 people. And we hover around anywhere from 20 to 150 people live a show. And after 24-hour time period from people in Australia, New Zealand, Germany, all over the world, we get 350 to 4,000 views, depending on guests and timing. And we just do it because we love it. We get to talk the game we love. We get to talk about things that we did, things that you do, things that other people do in the game. And then it allows us to have a platform to talk about Mental Health Mondays, which we do every Monday. It's at 7 o'clock at night, where we bring on guests and talk about the trials and tribulations that we all have. Nicholas, as you know, nobody goes unscathed without mental illness throughout their life, whether it's you or somebody in your life. Nobody goes without knowing a story of somebody that commits suicide. But the fact that we have kids, teenagers, ending their lives before they've experienced their life, shame on us. And so that's why we've really gained popular with our Mental Health Mondays. We will continue on doing that. We have a voice, we have a platform, and we will bring everybody and anybody on to make sure that we get the message out. You're not alone. Our number is there all the time. I'm 24/7. You have a concussion, you call me. You have mental health issues, you call me. You textbook me. You Facebook me. You twit me. You tweet me. You twit me. You will do whatever you can. Get a hold of us, and we will find the right people to help you. There is help 24/7. We will find a way. Scott Holler from Concussion Management, Shift Concussion Management, incredible. You have a concussion, we have that person. Stephen Morris, an incredible psychotherapist, will help with your mental health issues. Listen to Paul talk. Listen to Chuck Basti talk. Pete Bombacci, myself. We are here and we're not going away. So thank you for giving me a platform, a pedestal, a soapbox to do the shout out. We're not alone. We're together in this. United, we're going to get out of this. We're not going to get out of this individually. We are going to get out of this collectively. We know that the world has been challenged with bushfires in, obviously, in Australia, floods, a volcano erupted in New Zealand where we lost a bunch of people. The traumatic experiences which COVID has brought to us, the issues down in the States, which are just beyond understanding, the loss of innocent lives through the Black Lives Matter. We have been thrown a heck of a lot in 1 year. And we as the adults in the picture have to pick ourselves up and realize we are showing our youth what the world needs to be. And I hope the youth follow us as an example versus the hectic, I don't even know the word, I can't even, and I'm not even going to bring up people's names, but the disgrace that democracy is being shown down in the United States of America with no politics involved. We are all to blame for this. And I hope that when I'm dead and gone, we've changed the pattern of history and that we become a nation, a world globally that love with no color.
Absolutely.
We bleed red. We all live red. And so there should not be a color of our skin that determines who we are and what we stand for.
And, you know, wise words from yourself, Kerry. Listen, that's why I do stuff like this as well. I don't get paid to do this. I mean, I'm at home during COVID-19, and I'm staying safe. My family's staying safe, but I love the game of hockey. And you know, you do a little bit of the concussion stuff like your friend Jim Thompson does as well. former NHLer and played with Wayne Gretzky, but he's known for helping people, like coaching interventions and stuff like that. But that's why I want to talk to people. I talk to a former NHLer. I talk to an OHLer, a kid right now. I talk to yourself and Jim who have played pro and then have stories like this, because it also gives me more knowledge and it gives everyone else more knowledge and yourselves a platform, even though as much as you probably don't need it because you have your own platforms. Another one here, to make me more informed and make everyone else more informed. And I do appreciate you coming on.
Well, I can't thank you. And I think what we've learned now, if we save one life, we can take that away as a victory. We have so many lives to save. So it's going to be this. They say it takes a village. I hate to use the terminology, it takes an army, but it takes an army of goodwillers to do this. And so I call upon all of us to lend a hand. Take a moment to see that person that's on the street and realize, don't judge them. Pick them up. Embrace them. Engage them.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to be a far better world to live in. So I thank you, Nicholas, for giving me the opportunity to talk about it, to empathize with people, and most importantly, to educate and engage.
Absolutely, Kerry. Listen, I appreciate you coming on once again. Hopefully we can do this down the line. Hopefully I can come on your show as well, because it's just at the end of the day, during these times as well, it's just great chats more than me wanting to be on and me trying to get you on here. It's just great chats at the end of the day.
It's fantastic.
That I don't take for granted as well. So thank you for coming on. Listen, everyone, that was Kerry Goulet on episode number 30 of Mamma Mia, This is Fire Talk. Former professional European ice hockey player, but most importantly, in my opinion, StopConcussions.com director for 10 years, as well as the Gooch Live Show with Paul Rosen, 4 p.m. every day, 7 p.m. Mondays, mental health shows as well on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. I'm Nicholas Fiore, the broadcast voice of the Oakville Blades. Instagram Live's upon us, more shows upon us. You want to check it out because, hey, we have nothing else to do except watch the Leafs now, I guess. But, hey, come on. I appreciate your support very much. Everyone, stay safe out there during COVID. Thanks for tuning in, and Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia.
Now Davis takes it and looks to come the other way. Davis is in, trying to drive, and he will look to go across. Good play to Davis, though, to get it right back to him. He goes down low to Israels. Centering, it's there. Scores! Stevie! Steven Whittle scores his first OJHL playoff goal for the Oakville Blades. This game is opening up in a big way for both teams. Ricketts centering, what a pass, Israel's breakaway, the move, scores! What a goal for the Alaska Fairbanks commit, the assistant captain, Harrison Israels, with an absolute dandy. Down low to Lyons, Jack Lyons centering, scores! The double jacks combine as that puck popped up like a jack in a box, and it's Jack Ricketts from Jack Lyons. 6-1 on the 40th shot of the game. It's all Oakville.
Goulet Smith hits it in. A chance here can develop, but the Blades will look to take it. And Ricketts finds Israels. Breakaway Israels. A chance. Backhand. Rebound. Scores! And the Oakville Blades win it here in Toronto. Blades win. Blades win. Blades win.
That was Mamma Mia, This is Fire Talk with Nicholas Fiore. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next episode.